Hi, and thanks for tuning in to SOCMA's podcast, where I sit down for a fireside chat on current trends affecting the specialty chemical sector. I'm Jennifer Abrill, President and CEO of SOCMA. In this episode, I talk with Kate Hampford Donahue, CEO of Hampford Research Inc. We talk about the unique products HRI makes, how she's successfully making generational changes in her leadership team, and what Kate has gained during her time as chair of the SOCMA Board of Governors. Let's dive into it. Kate, thank you so much for joining me on the SOCMA podcast.
Thrilled to be here.
As we are starting our second season, we're transitioning into talking to corporate leaders. Our first season was focused on other associations and trades and what they are seeing in the marketplace. So now we want to talk to our leadership. And what better way to start by talking to our chair of the board, Kate Hampford Donahue. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to be here. So let's go.
Yeah. All right. So you have an amazing journey that brought you to be the CEO of Hampford Research. So for anybody that doesn't know your story, take them through, how did you get to where you are? It's a family business, but tell me how you got there and let everybody know what an amazing journey you've had.
Yeah, it's a long and winding road, I guess. My dad founded the company in 1982 after he had sold a prior company and retired. And my mother said, please go back to work. So he used some contacts that he had at the prior company. He couldn't make any of the same materials he'd been making because of non-competes, but he got a couple of products and bought some reactors and got going, which he continued to do until 2007, when he brought me aboard a couple of months before he passed away from cancer. So I had spent the first 20 years of my career in a totally different industry. Not in chemicals at all, not in manufacturing, but I did have the most business experience of his 5 kids. And he said, somebody from the family needs to run a business and you're it. So this was the January of 2007. I found the company not in good financial health. So there was a lot to do. And then the recession hit. So it was just a roller coaster of a ride. But here I am 17 years later, and I absolutely love what I do and could not imagine doing anything else. And we have an amazing team that I've been able to put together and evolve over time so that we are, I think, doing great things for our customers. I think my dad would be really psyched with where we are.
And I know how much your dad is important to you and is really the founder of the company. When I went to come visit you a couple months ago, you told me an invention that your dad made that is incredibly cool and that I think a lot of our listeners would appreciate. So you had to tell us about that.
I will. So he's actually a chemist. So he went to Penn State and he had an internship with ARCO, like before that was even a thing. Hilarious. But he got a job with them right after college. And then time went on, he moved on to this other company and he invented the solid center golf ball. So golf balls used to be wound like baseballs are. And so he invented this rubber center and sold it to all the big golf ball companies, including Titleist and Spalding. And his golf ball with his solid center and it is on the moon. It went up with the moonshot in 1969. So that's our family claim to fame.
That is the coolest that is the coolest story. I know that all of our golfers in our membership would love to hear that. So they have your dad to thank. Okay, so other very cool things that Hampford Research does. You specialize in curing agents, right? And making sure that that products are able to harden under UV light. That's one of your specialties. So talk a little bit about the specialties of Hampford. How did that come to be? What products are they made in or used in? What kind of applications and what else does Hampford provide?
Well, photo-initiators, so the light curing agents was the core competency in our early years, and the applications for that range from dental products. So any composite filling you've had, we make a range of materials that go into that. including the photo initiator where they shine the blue light in and hardens. Electronics, 3D printing, any kind of coating or curable coating. We make either the photo initiator or the sensitizers and co-initiators. But over the years, the breadth of what we make has broadened as we get our engagement with customers usually ends up where we get referred to other divisions in their organizations that might have slightly different chemistries. So it's very rewarding because our customers like working with us. We do a lot of scale up and moving materials from R&D all the way into commercial production. So that's really what we're known for, is taking an invention either that the customer has a molecule that a customer's created, and either doesn't have any manufacturing capability and needs somebody to make it for them, or they're really a chemical company, but whatever the material is, they don't want to manufacture it themselves, but they need somebody that they trust. Typically, it's a material that is going into their formulation in a small volume, but it's very important to the functionality of the material of their final product. Yeah. And they don't want that IP to go out of the country. And they know that they can trust us to keep it safe and secure. And the quality is, at the level that they need it to be.
Yeah. So, and how has this year been for you? Tell me a little bit about, post-COVID environment, the last few years trajectory. And so what's 2024 been like?
It's actually been a good year. I think a lot of people have been on the roller coaster 2020. Everybody needed material because they're panicking that, the shutdowns were going to prevent them from getting material. 2021, then everybody's holding back huge supply chain issues. 2022, similar. 2023 was a great year, or 2022 was a great year. 2023, much slower. This year, rebounding and steady right now. I feel like we're finally getting to maybe a steady state where raw materials are available, no issues with workforce or anything like that. And customers, also yo-yoed from, we got a big inventory up to, we need to bring levels down. And in some cases, I would say too low. Mm-hmm. I think we're getting back to sort of an equilibrium, is what it feels like to me. But there's also opportunities, for reshoring. Yep. Interestingly, not just from Asia, but from Europe, where some of our American customers want more sourcing that's here to complement what's happening in Europe or Asia. But that definitely seems to be a trend. Slow, but there's a lot of conversation about it and a number of things that we're working on that reflect that shift.
And what do you hear from the customers through the conversations about what's driving it back? Is it reliability? Is it, at this point, U.S. manufacturers are cost competitive? For the most part, is it that you want to bring closer to source? We all sort of hear about onshoring, reshoring, plus shoring. But so what's the trend that you're hearing?
Closer to source is the strong, and having multiple suppliers, right? Not being in that position. So that the need for getting multiple sources I don't think has ever been stronger. And then on top of that, it's maybe the cheapest isn't always the most important. We need to make sure we can get supply here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So that's the subtlety of that is a little bit new, I think. Mm.
And so does that make you optimistic? I mean, what's your outlook for this year, next year, the foreseeable future?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And also for U.S. manufacturers.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic because I think it represents a rebalancing of supplier geography. There was this huge swing to Asia. That has swung back. There was some movement to Europe. I think customers are now saying, can we supply nearer to where we're manufacturing, and do we have a balance so that whatever happens in the world, we're going to be able to get supply. I think it's a much more thoughtful approach. So I'm very optimistic. I mean, we're starting to work on 2025 projections, and I feel really good about it.
That's fantastic to hear. And, we at SOCMA have really been thinking about how we want to position with whatever administration comes in next year, right? We're in a good position that both of the candidates have expressed an interest in increasing American manufacturing or North American manufacturing. So that's hugely advantageous to us. And we really need to lean into that and take advantage of that and position our specialty chemical supply chain here in North America as being ready, willing, able to meet those demands. Is there anything that worries you right now? What are you seeing as challenges to that potential growth?
Well, the biggest challenge right now is how difficult it is to get a new chemical approved at the EPA.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really incredible development going on by R&D chemists all over the place. And if you can't, it's just ridiculous is the word, honestly, to get an LBE or PMN. That has to be fixed.
Yeah.
Which the irony is that, before the Lautenberg Act, it worked, it worked really well. It was very predictable. You knew what you needed to provide. They were meeting their turnaround times, and that has just completely fallen apart. So, it's kind of ironic that we want to develop more environmentally friendly materials, but if you can't get them registered in the U.S., then it's really going to slow it down. So that's a big issue. I think the other thing two more things. One is certainly making it easier and more and supporting the effort for American companies or for companies to bring more production back to the U.S. in whatever iteration that comes. But the other thing is the turnover in workforce, right? Developing the next generation of leaders. Yeah. Critically important because younger generations are looking for some different things, and we need to acknowledge and embrace those differences and figure out how we're going to, continue to build the workforce of the future. And something we personally at Hampford Research work on a lot. I mean, I'm pretty much done turning over the old generation to the new in the company.
And how long has that process taken you?
Years. But with a lot of intention, because you can't just, take an engineer and say, oh, now you're going to run the engineering department. Yeah, there's development that has to happen. So the breadth of inclusiveness, the way that we recruit, the way that we onboard, the way that we describe our company culture, it's all really intentional for us, which is there's been some effort that SOCMA to provide access to resources like at the SOCMA Summit, been different speakers about that. And I'm hearing more companies talk about it more and more because you can't just hope for the best and, hope you're going to attract good talent and help them develop. You have to show them. And the impact of COVID is still there in terms of how leadership ready people are when they come out of college or high school. There's definitely challenges with communication abilities. So understanding the whole breadth of issues to prepare your workforce and to attract the workforce that you need for the future is something that I think SOCMA has helped with. Obviously, the engagement with the EPA is something they've done really well and provided us with opportunities, us meaning people that are, affected by the EPA's work, to get in front of them and to share our perspectives, especially small and mid-sized chemical companies doing batch processing. It's not like the big giant commodity chemical producers. So we have a different story to tell. And SOCMA's, we're small. Like, I don't have a lobbyist. I don't have anybody in Washington to help tell our story. SOCMA's the one that does that for us. I'm sort of rambling all over the place, but there's a lot of support that SOCMA provides that we've tapped into over the entire time we've been members that we simply couldn't get anywhere else. And I always encourage when I talk to new members, say, make sure you understand the full breadth of what SOCMA brings to the table for you, because every company is going to need some different combinations of the services and support that you provide. There's a cornucopia of options to tap into.
Well, and thank you for saying that. And really, truly, that's what we are here to do, is to support the growth of the North American specialty chemical sector in all of its forms, whether that's commercial B2B networking, whether that's around safety and manufacturing and operational excellence, or whether that is advocating for regulations that make sense and actually, encourage growth and innovation in this country and allow our members to thrive. And that's what we get up to do every day. And I wanted to just take 1 minute and go back to the part about leadership that you mentioned, and the leadership development, which I think is really important, because we're seeing the effects of course, retirements, and then there's a huge gap. I'm in the Gen X generation, which is a small number of people. And so this gap that everybody's feeling is the pinch where there really just there aren't enough of that generation to take on the mantle. And so it drops quickly to the millennial level. And so really trying to be intentional, as you said, about creating training opportunities or engagement opportunities or developmental opportunities where people can be together at, say, a conference or a show, a trade show, or some kind of a round table to just get exposure and ideas. Is that part of what has been beneficial to you as a leader, engaging in those types of opportunities? And to what extent do you see that that's important for your next generation leadership?
It's essential. I mean, you can't teach anybody everything they need to know just inside your company. Mm-hmm. So helping our new leaders connect with others in the industry as resources for them, peers that they can talk to, critical. I mean, absolutely critical. And SOCMA does provide opportunities for that, and I think is pretty conscious of the need. It's for us. It's how do we use our old timers, to develop our younger leaders in a way where we are handing all of our responsibility in a real way, not just saying, well, you're in charge of this, but you got to check everything with me. Mm. Let them get out on their own, but still be there as a resource. That's the balancing act we're having. So that we'll transition somebody from the number 2 in a department to number 1 before number 1 has retired. Mm-hmm. Give them 6 months of the responsibility shifts to the younger leader, but the older leader is there, sort of the ombudsman, the old sage, and they're there just for questions and support, which has allowed us to keep some of our most, senior and experienced leaders on in a way that gives them confidence that they have handed off their responsibilities in an effective way, so that they can retire and feel really good about that transition, and that their, the legacy that they left is going to be continued and improved upon. And initially it's a little weird, but we've done it a bunch of times, and it's really good for the people that are retiring and the people that are moving into leadership positions. So sharing that, opportunities for our folks to share that with other people at other companies, but also to hear how other organizations are navigating these waters, and how do you accelerate that process? I mean, some people get into a management role and then all of a sudden realize that the buck really does stop with them, and they're like, I don't want to. But more often than not, if you can give them the right guidance, they're like, okay, I am ready for this, and I can do this, and I do have resources. It's not bad to ask for help.
Yeah.
People there to support me. So, um, I agree with you. I think it's going to continue to be an issue, and organizations like SOCMA are, and the events and programs that they provide at the regional or national level are even on committees, right?
Yeah.
Which is mostly, Zoom based. They're great opportunities for people to build relationships with folks in other companies in other parts of the country, with other kinds of specialization that they can learn from.
So I want to end, this is really important, and I want to end on something that you brought up a few minutes ago, which is the word legacy. And you've been an absolutely amazing chair. You are coming to the end of your tenure as chair at the end of this calendar year. And we've been absolutely blessed to have had your leadership during these transitional years where we're really seeing so much growth for the association and also for our sector. So talk to me about what you see as your legacy at SOCMA, and what are you most proud of so far? There's so many things that we're proud of you for, but is there anything that you're proud of during your tenure?
You're going to choke me up here. It's really been my honor to serve. I mean, honest to goodness, like, if you had told me in 2007, when I came into this business and knew nothing about chemical manufacturing, your predecessor was one of the first people that came and visited and got me involved in the association. So, I mean, I have gotten at least as much out of my relationship with SOCMA as SOCMA's gotten from me. I hope part of my legacy is continued diversity of the board, both in, gender, age, race, all of it, to try to just continue to bring new leaders in and give people opportunities to run committees, to really engage in how we run the association. I also think I've just been incredibly privileged to work with your team. I mean, getting you on at the leader, running the association, but the team that you put together and how smart, engaged, dedicated they are, it's a joy. It's been absolutely a joy. So hopefully, I've been a positive influence, and the people have felt my support of them and of the work that you're doing. That the board is important, but you guys are doing all the heavy lifting. So you got to feel like we believe in you. The board believes in you. The board leadership believes in you and supports you. And I hope that's part of my legacy, that you feel that's important.
Without a doubt, you have been an amazing supporter. You've been an amazing cheerleader. You've been very generous with your time and your advice and your support. But as you say, we're really privileged to have had the opportunity to spend so much time together. And we really do have a fantastic board, very engaged, building for the future.
And I think that one other thing I would say is sort of codifying our strategic planning process. This is our second round we're going through. And I know the first time we did it, when I was right after got on board, it was a little shaky. Like, we were struggling, and you were really leading us very capably through what was felt like an uncomfortable process. But I really believed that we needed to learn how to do this. And I think that's the other piece of the legacy, is that I think this has become part of who we are, that we're going to go through this process every couple of years, and that we have confidence that you are the right person to lead us through it and then to implement it, because the implementation of the first round was so beautiful. That is going to ensure security and success of this organization going forward, that we know how to do this. to shift, to reevaluate, shift course, execute, do it again.
Yeah.
So that is I probably ensuring the future of the association strategically is really, really important to me.
Yeah. And that's been a huge effort for us this year, getting this process off the ground. And we take this very seriously. And by we, I'm mentioning not only staff, but also the board has been incredibly engaged in this process. And so we're building to a SOCMA 2030. And we're looking forward to all of that to come. We started with a board brainstorming this summer, and we're going to be launching in just a couple of weeks now an industry survey to validate this and to see what other kinds of ideas our industry has for us and where we can provide some support and help and alleviate pain points. So really, really looking forward to that. Looking forward to just setting the course. There's a lot of optimism in our sector, and we obviously have all the tools to take advantage of it. So thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for your generosity. And we're so proud to have you as our chair.
It's been the highlight of my chemical manufacturing career, honestly.
Kate, we love you. Thank you for coming on the podcast. And we will be seeing you throughout the fall. And I hope everybody comes to see you not only at our SOCMA Summit on October 28th and 29th and 30th in Charleston, but also at our SOCMA show in Nashville in February.
We'll be at both of them. Don't worry.
Thank you, Kate.
All right. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, we loved it. Thanks for tuning into this episode. I hope to see you back here for our next one. And in the meantime, please check out SOCMA.org for links to other SOCMA podcasts, events, and programs.